So I just wanted to bring it up and start
Bring it to our attention.
thinking
Thank you.
process.
Thank you. And again, I think you did a very fine job of enumerating the benefits to the community. I don't.
Minimize that. Minimize that screen.
Maddie, you like hearing yourself and seeing yourself? Okay. But I don't take exception with any of the things you brought up. They're key. We're from Western Waterlands, and how do you make that pool available? And then the president of the country club has to deal with the country club members and what they would find acceptable to be a co-sponsorship, and just see how big a project it is. I think it's a very important project. I hate for our community to lose that. And I don't know if Orange Waves can figure out how to cooperate with another team and not lose a summer. I don't know if you can get to Murray, Callaway County or something in Paducah and not lose a summer.
Did any of y'all want to say anything while we're here? Is that okay?
That's fine. Yes. We don't get too wadded up in formalities around here unless things get out of whack. So.
I'm as prepared, but I'm Lindsay Hicks. I'm the president of the Orange Waves.
Okay, Lindsay.
Board.
Okay.
Last year was just my first year doing that. So, but last year we had a whole new board and a new coach, and we really put our heads together, and we're focusing on how we can kind of rebuild this program from the hit that we took during COVID and having to take one solid year off, and the next year was still kind of like we got to practice, but a lot of other teams still weren't full force. So, we kind of kept the ball rolling, but not as much. So then we decided to really try and rebuild this program, because if you looked in the past, the swim team had 40, 50 swimmers, and we were kind of down to like 20. So we got a new coach, a new board, and we were getting out in the community some and getting sponsorships for the team to kind of redo some of the equipment that we had and update some of that, and just continue to try to build our program. I I personally have been a swim parent for 5 or 6 years, and it's all that my children do. And
Right.
They're devastated that, like, what, you were not going to swim? And that it's the only sports that they even participate in. And so just thinking about moving forward and the history of the team. But as far as other places, the only options are Paducah or Murray.
Does Princeton still have a swim team?
I'm not sure.
No, they did at one time.
I know at Murray at the Wellness Center, we have utilized their pool in the spring in the past before COVID. And then after that, they weren't allowing any outside, like the Murray swim team was the only swim team that was allowed to use it. But we're not sure if that was just because of COVID, and now that they might open it back up to others, or the two pools in Paducah, the PAC, which is what the Paducah swim team uses, or Noble Park, which both of those are just so much further to travel, because they're not in convenient locations in Paducah either. It's not just going to Paducah, but like the other side of Paducah. And a lot of parents have expressed that they're not willing to drive that far 2 or 3 days a week, in addition to traveling on the weekends.
Right.
So we have not spoken with Murray yet, but short of almost farming the swimmers out to other teams and where they're willing to go swim, which would affect our team, because if they go swim with Murray and they like that, then they might just stay there.
How many meets did you guys have last year?
At least, I think. Yeah, I would say 10 or 12. We really.
This is the Orange
increased the
Waves,
number.
which is the what age do you start at? Just to get on the public record
6.
of who is age 6 through open.
Yes.
6. Do you still have open teams, open relays or anything? I mean, what's
Well, yeah, at home meets sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right? Okay, 6 to 18. So we have a
basically
wide swath.
kindergarten through
Okay,
once they're in school. Last year we decided to kind of make it kindergarten and swim length of the pool.
Right. So to get on it, you have to go the length of the
Yeah.
pool, right? So then you can.
You don't have to be good at it.
Right. You
but-
don't have to be good at it.
Just
You
not
get better
scared.
as you're on the team.
seen it many times.
Yes.
I'm
Many
just
times.
curious, like Camp Curry's pool, could that, or like, what is Jonathan Creek called now? Don't they have a pool up there? Crossings. Are those,
Fish and Wildlife would not be able to volunteer their pool. But it's full from sun up to sundown every day during summer. So
I hadn't thought about the pool at Crossings.
I mean-
I don't know if they would be willing to open it or not.
I mean,
That
I'm
would be
just
something
trying to
we could
figure out
contact-
Right.
something to
But I
work
don't
in the
know if I can-
meantime.
For this
Yeah.
I do feel
summer,
like the pool was pretty large, just from my personal memory.
I was thinking they have a lot of kids, so I don't know. I'm just,
That's true.
I'm a fixer. I want
But
to.
I don't know. They seem to be full with camps almost every week. So
Yeah,
I don't
but I was
know
thinking maybe
how-
early morning or something, maybe
But-
weekends.
We did look at the pools in Benton as well, which they are much smaller, and we considered like we are a much younger team because that's how we were building the team, is going into the elementary schools last year and trying to like recruit new swimmers. So since we were a much younger team, we thought we might can still practice fundamentals and stuff like that. We just wouldn't be able to host home meets if we use the pools at Benton, but they are very small, and it would be very difficult to try and expect a 6, 7, 8-year-old to practice in a pool that's half the size that they would
Right.
compete in.
Right.
And even older swimmers, I mean, my children are middle school, but for them to try and practice at a level that they couldn't compete.
Yeah.
Or couldn't practice at a level that they would compete.
Amy, what kind of pipes are they pressure testing? Are they plastic or are they metal?
cast iron.
Cast iron?
Cast iron. I was 53 years old.
But it's exactly.
I was on that team. We'll just leave it at that. But you know,
Like I said, there's liners that they can coat the inside of the pipes
Yeah.
with.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
personally, I'm expecting the pressure test to fail.
Lindsay, we appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
up and saying something. You know, I will say that Calvert City supports Marsh County High School in all sorts of ways. Not just the high school, the school system overall, every way that we can. You know, mountain bike team, try to sponsor the golf team. It's really, you know, what we're talking about is really a very unique idea, and it's pretty complicated. You know, if we were able to come up with an amount that we could budget and come up with a proper interlocal agreement, and if there's a fixed price, and who are the other stakeholders, and, you know, what are the legalities of that? Like I said earlier, still some heavy lifting, but I'm kind of not really got a good gauge of what the council is, but we're getting ready to start the budget process. We're going to talk about the calendarization of that this meeting. That's when it's just starting. But something needs to happen. I think that you've got a lot of alumni from Calvert City who fondly remember that pool. And Nita was right on it as far as, raising money in the way of gifts and stuff. I've actually, I don't want to drop a name here because I don't want to put somebody on the spot, but I had a former collegiate swimmer had heard about the plight of the country club back last year. I think some of this stuff was threatened and just had it come apart. Okay. And I think that would be an enthusiastic supporter outside just the community if we get the message out there appropriately. I saw Lindsay talking to the press just a second ago. So maybe we can get something moving and get on that. Does anybody else got anything to add? Any questions for council before these folks leave? No?
I'd just say, my wife and I own 2 properties. We buy houses here locally and renovate.
If you will, sir, come up and state your name, please.
Dwight Tittle, my wife Robbie and I, we own 2 properties. We've been buying houses here in Calvert City for a little bit, renovating. One of the things that we like about Calvert City is the fact that families that are looking for these houses and newer houses when we're finished is the parks, the pools. Our kids participate with the Orange Waves. So that has been a huge thing for us to try to fight to get houses here locally to renovate and bring people into the town. So without the pool, that's kind of that takes away from our kids, and I know it probably affects some future kids also. But I know families are looking for the things that you already have here,
Right.
The parks and all that. So to lose that pool, I think would be detrimental to the swim team in general, because ours went from barely being able to hold their head underwater to competing last year, and it's blown me away at the progress that they made. So we sure hate to see it not go through. So if the city can do that, I think it's going to benefit them in other ways, not just the pool itself. So we can add those things when it comes time for us to put a house on the market. We
Right.
use those things. You have all these options. So now to say you have access to a pool, a large pool that you can compete in. I think that would be something that would be a big benefit for us as house flippers, along with, people moving here, so.
It's an important point. The amenities and some of the things we're doing on our strategic plan build into those kinds of details. And again, Tammy and the board own the asset. So they've got to get the project together, figure out what they're wanting to do. And they're going to have to be the pivot point on any kind of conversations that might take place. In various times throughout the council and trying to gain access to the country club pool, is just being an open public pool. That's something that the country club membership has not necessarily been in favor of. Okay. There's a lot of reasons, from parking on Saturday, even down to, what kind of pool hours are you wanting to do? So it's not a black and white issue for the board of the country club to deal with. And I've never sat on that board. So, I don't know what I don't even know who the current slate of officers are, but it's something that I appreciate you guys coming up and bringing this to our attention. And you make a very good case for why the council ought to be concerned about it.
I think we all realize how important this is. We truly do. And we need the pool. Where we run into a problem is the country club, it's my understanding, is a private entity. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well,
It's not a governmental one.
You bring up
And
a good point.
We have trouble being able to donate money or lease things because we are a governmental agency, and that's where the problem is going to come up. And Greg's not here to discuss that. And believe me, when I'm telling you this,
But neither
this is one of the things that I hate. With what?
You know what he'd say, though.
Yeah, this is one of the things about city government that I hate. I literally hate it, because to me, it seems like it's a good cause. It would benefit the city, and I would write a check in a heartbeat if the city worked that way and I could sign the check, which I can't. But that's the problem that we run into. It's not that we don't want to do something. It's that our hands get tied and tied and tied. And that's why I'm suggesting maybe some sort of a fundraiser that we could help with if we can't do this. Because when you talk about an interlocal agreement, most of the time that's between a public entity, like the school system, the county government, and things like that. That's where we are bound. And so please don't think that, and I think I speak for everybody here, that we are not concerned and we don't want to help fix it, because we do. It's just that as a city council and as city government, our hands can be tied a lot of the times. I don't know. Greg's not here, but
We already have some sort of leak.
we have a lease agreement with.
Well, to make a complicated thing, try to make it easy.
Yeah.
Calvert City owns the acreage underneath the golf course. We don't own any of the improvements on top of the hill. And the country club leases that acreage and renegotiated that lease in the recent past.
It's about 20 years ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. And it went for 100 years. The lease did.
I
for 100
remember
years.
somewhere on council, we had
Yeah.
talked about that, and I don't know about those number of years,
Yeah.
but that's just the golf course. That's the acreage under the golf course. The improvements on the land is owned by the nonprofit organization known as Calvert City Country Club. Okay. With their board of directors and all that. So, Maddie's put her out there. Dwight pointed out too, that it is an amenity for the city. And so we'd have to carefully build the interlocal. What is the governmental purpose of us being able to contribute funds? And then you'd have to take a look at benefit versus the whole thing. I believe it'd be pretty tough for Calvert City to do the whole deal with writing a check for what we would be promised back. Of course, that's for the council to understand, and for us to make sure that we're within the bounds of the law of what we can do with taxpayers' money, right? But you built up a great case for why it's beneficial, interlocal, and I think the idea that Maddie had for swim lessons free of charge and that sort of thing for some time period. I mean, that's just some foundational areas we can get into what we're trading public dollars for public use.
If the country club were to have to go to a smaller pool, is there any kind of federal grants or state grants that could be to put in a new pool on city property maybe, or something?
Well,
Has that never been looked at in the.
Well, I think I'm in pretty good understanding that the pool's not on city property per se right now. Okay. It's not
I
on.
just meant a you went in
But there may be grants available out there. Since we don't own a pool, we really don't have a good bead on those grants. We don't own that pool. And so we don't really know what that is, but we do have some people who we've got friends who know a lot about the grant world. So
Well,
we can dig up
there
some
could be some
information.
independent grants
It
out
could
there
be.
that the country club could apply for.
Well, I can speak to that because I kind of looked into that too. There's not a lot of grants to build a new pool, but there's a lot of grants to renovate an old pool. However, most of those grants are going to be going to municipalities as opposed to a private nonprofit.
Yeah.
So that's what we would run into.
So what kind of grants did you uncover?
USA Swimming Foundation has most of them.
Okay, but you do have some good background information. So
Yeah.
we got with Maddie, we can understand some of that.
And they also have grants for programs. So if the city were to front $50,000 to make sure that the pool is the same size that it is now, the pool lasts for 50 years. That's $1,000 a year. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to staff it. Is Blair still in here?
Blair's back here.
How much did you pay for the kayak day? Do you remember for the kids at the school?
I think it was $600.
$600 for one day for the kayak thing at the pool. So $1,000 a year. You're getting the kayak thing. You're getting other community events, swimming lessons, lifeguarding. It will pay for itself.
I know who the
Yeah,
chair.
we
I know
don't
who the
doubt that.
chairman
It's
for
just
this
whether
effort
we
needs
can
to
or
be.
I
not,
know the
yeah.
legalities, and I'm not aware of.
I know who the chairman for the effort is. What, Ralph? You got something?
Yeah. Thank you, Maddie, for all of that. And we will spend time looking through this, of course, and maybe some of what I'm about to ask is in here, and I'm really directing this to Tammy kind of more than you, but I'm a member of the country club, but I know nothing about the financial operation or what the board does or what it thinks about the pool, but can we be pretty assured that the board is behind this effort to improve or to renovate the pool, rehab the pool, and keep it operational for?
We definitely need to keep the pool open.
Yeah.
We know that it needed new filters, and the price of the filters and what we thought we could get it installed for was $50,000. And then we learned that you have to go through the State Department. And when they came down from Frankfurt, they looked at our giant pit and said, there's no way this works, even though it's worked for 50 years. And every time the Marshall County Health Department comes in and we pass inspection. But this lady from Frankfurt said, nope, not anymore. Everything has to be automated. Everything has to be to her liking.
Yeah.
And that being said, we have $50,000 in the budget to do this project this year. And now we're up to 250 or so pressure tests and whatever. And to put that burden completely on the membership is going to be difficult because we put out a survey last fall that said, how many of our members use the pool? A lot of them don't. It's a golf course to them, and that's what they want to worry about, tee boxes and greens. There are a few that strictly pool members had to come apart when they found out that we were going to have to do something with the pool. And we have entertained the idea of an assessment. We've entertained the idea of going up on the dues. We've entertained the idea of borrowing money from the bank. 10 years ago, it wouldn't have happened, period. But since we hired a pro, things have been a whole lot better at the country club. Our membership's up. We have money in the bank and difference between daylight and dark. So to have $50,000 put aside just for the pool is an amazing number for us.
So is some of that kind of stuff in here, and kind of the scope of the project?
Yeah,
Tennis court.
some of the bids, the requirement, I think, is at the
Yeah.
top.
It's this.
Okay, Canara's got the copy of the information that the health department gave us.
The renovation number is in there.
It's in there, yes.
202,000 is what it was.
It's in here.
But for our budget purposes, not that I don't believe these gentlemen, but I figure it's gonna be more.
It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that included the new pipes. If they
That's
use
awesome.
it. Right.
It has the large pool and the small pool in here and the breakdowns.
Really, I was more asking from the standpoint of there's this cost that's in the next 2 years or 18 months or ever how long it is. But then there's that remaining 48 years or that 50 years that, and so it's kind of like, okay, if the city agrees to do this now, I mean, I know you can't speak for the people that are going to be running the country club in 25 years, but is the board now committed to, we're going to have this pool,
Yes,
some pool?
yes.
And
There's a
if,
couple of them that are like, do we have to have the pool?
Yeah.
But I believe, 10 out of 12 realize the necessity of the
Yeah.
pool to go along with the golf course for the wives, for the kids.
I just did a real quick check with John. The tennis courts were deeded to the city with the understanding that the use of the parking area would be provided during tournament weekends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we've got a long-term, I mean, we've got a relationship with the country club through the lease of the ground, which the city owns and stuff. And so hopefully it seems to me that we need to do some more conversations about resources to make sure maybe you have some engineering help to help shepherd the project through. I don't believe that political help's going to help anything with getting the regulations satisfied by inspectors. But there are other people at play. There are other government entities in this county that play. And so this needs to, and it, you know, it's impactful for a lot of community reasons to us. It's impactful to the school system for continuation of opportunities for students, right? So there's several people. So let's keep selling it. As far as the long-term lease, they become binding. The city goes into it and they would agree to it. And then you have a changing situation at the club and you have somebody party to the agreement trying to force a certain activity on the other party. So, you know, a well-written contract and understanding would be pretty important here too. And, you know, without saying it, I don't know if there's other examples we can go to. I mean, you're going to have to maintain lifeguards like the old days. And that's a labor cost. You got to recruit, you got to train the kids. And
Well, Maddie and I had talked last year about her getting her certification to
Yep.
do training. Because according to the new lady at the Marshall County Health Department, we had to have a whole lot more lifeguards than we had in the past. And we had a few problems during COVID. We didn't have lifeguards. It was swim at your own risk. And then the lady that showed up last year, she said, "What do you mean you didn't have lifeguards? I didn't notice the signs." But the signs were like 4 foot that said no lifeguards. And she said, I didn't see them. And then she come up with this whole new rule about opening Saturday. We got an email at 6 a.m. that says the pool is closed until we have lifeguards.
well, you need your manager to know state regulations and how many square foot, I guess it's how many square foot of surface area you have and how many guards have to be seated. There used to be, when the kids were doing it, when my kids were lifeguards, there were so many people in the pool, then by policy, they had to seat 2 guards. I mean, there was a lot of different things going on.
How many's in the pool? It's square footage of the pool.
Yeah, but it was a policy,
Yeah.
not compliance. It was policy, not
Right now,
necessarily
there's not
full
very many
compliance.
places to get lifeguard certifications, is there?
No, there's not.
My
And that
daughter,
was the other problem we ran into.
both of my daughters have been lifeguards up there as well. And
Where to get certified?
they went to Murray. Both
Went to
of them
Murray.
did.
Mine, I had one in Murray and one in Paducah.
Hammy's satisfied, but I mean, certified, but I think she went to Paducah, but I'm not sure. It could have been Murray.
Yeah, it's a Red Cross
Right now,
certification. You can get it at a number of
there's not
places
very many
and different
places.
deals.
Not in Marshall County, you can.
Oh.
There's
But last
2
year,
instructors currently, and I make number 3.
All right.
There is a private instructor for Paducah Parks and Rec, but you have to work for Paducah. You get it through there. And there's a private instructor at Camp Curry, and you have to work at Camp Curry to get that one. So it's me,
Yeah.
Curry Callaway Parks, and a lady in Paducah, and that's it.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Maddie, I can't, again, I want to say I appreciate you. Now is, we got some more agenda we have to get to. And unless there's something important that we haven't already touched on, has anybody got something else? Okay. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk to us.
Thank you.
And I think you've opened up some eyes of this group of people. I know mine, to remind us what an amenity that this situation is. And you know, Nita's very kind-hearted, and she just breaks her heart. I know it does, that we can't just take care of it, but we have to make sure that we, you know, we don't do things that without public intent and purpose. And so we'd have to take a look. I think there's probably some room for us to partner in it, but it's, you know, I don't know how you get the influence to make the key decision maker, the country club board, and what they're going to do. And so they're going to have some data. So Maddie will be in touch.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
Tammy will be in touch. And I guess, Lindsay, you're on the committee too, whether you like it or not, if there is a committee. And it won't be a city committee. It's going to be y'all's committee. And we want to help support it.
That's what
Y'all's. I love that word, y'all's.
I like y'all's.
Well, I will say one thing, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there's other people in this room who've been to them more than I have. But if you've ever been somewhere where they're dragging for a body, you've seen what they use to get them out of the lake.
Thanks, Adam.
It makes an impression on you about how important it is for people.
Well,
The very lasting impression on that. That's, you know, many years ago, when Hans Conrad was mayor, we did a public referendum on building a pool. It failed miserably. I hope we don't have that same situation again. The pool is a very important resource, and these kids need to know how to swim.
I agree with you.
They're not gonna be collegiate swimmers. As long as we don't have to drag for them, that's what I want. So,
I don't know the status. I'm ignorant. The lifeguards at the pool gave swim lessons. And I don't know at the country club pool, the employees at the country club pool gave swim lessons.
They still do.
And I could phone a friend here. Were they public? Could public go up there to the swim lessons, or was it member only? I don't know. Public could?
They would allow Sarah when she was lifeguarding up there, as long as she was lifeguarding, she could give lessons.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah couldn't go up there right now and give a kid swim lessons because
Right.
she's not a lifeguard.
But could somebody off the street come in, or would they have to have a pool membership to be able?
Well, I mean,
I'm just asking, I mean,
I
that's-
can't answer.
yeah, that's
I
what
can't answer for sure. I know 3 or 4 years ago, Sarah would.
Yeah,
Sarah would take anybody up
Yes,
there
yeah.
and go and take them for.
I just mean, did the pool, did the country club?
in Calvert City, there's been several instances of people who had pools would open up and let people teach people to swim in their backyards. And that's just a catch or catch can. And it wasn't very frequent that I'm aware of. And, you know, the thing is, we're all going to know how to splash in the splash parks because the municipalities and the government agencies can afford that. And that doesn't save you when you fall out of the boat, does it, Lloyd?
Yeah, we got $500,000 in a splash pad down here. So I mean, I can imagine what you'd have, what a new pool would cost.
Few
But
regulations
I
on
got
that. too.
I got another question that council might be able to advise us on is what are going to be any of the legalities of me. I know me, Ralph, and Chris are all members. I don't think.
Oh, it's true.
I'm a member.
I'm not.
I know you're not. I know Tanera's not, and I'm not sure about Jeremy.
Jeremy, you
Right.
remember?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just,
That's a good point.
So I mean, that's just a question. That's
that's
just
where
a
it just,
question.
yeah, you're,
That's just a
I
question.
thought
I
of it.
want to before we.
There you go.
and I have a question.
Conflict of interest of that.
As long as we're on this. Is there any way to know who's going to come and speak to us so we would be a little bit prepared to what we're going to hear?
Well, I mean, we can talk
Can
about
we figure
that.
out some way to at least have them to request? I mean, I don't want to keep people from coming, but when you've got something like this and we're like cold turkey with it, except for seeing about it in the newspaper where it was closing. That there's some way that if they have something that they would have a process to go through where we'd have a little idea of what was.
I didn't really know they was coming. I knew they had talked about
If-
stuff,
if
and they
somebody-
haven't. And they haven't
I knew
really
there
talked.
was talk about it, just like you did.
But I knew
they
the
were
pool
coming
was
till this morning.
I knew the pool was having problems.
But
I mean,
it's not just- it's not just the
me and
pool.
Ralph both did. I don't know how much. I knew they was having problems, but they still don't know. Here's the other thing: they don't know the depth of their problems.
Right,
Until they
that's
get
what
that pressure test, they have no idea the depth of their
And
problem.
it's not just the pool. I'm just saying, it's not just
Yes, I
this.
know what
It's,
you're
we've had a lot of different things that if there was just some way that if, if you want to make a presentation or something that you, we have a little bit,
To answer your question,
and maybe there's not.
as the mayor, I'm not aware of a policy that Calvert City's had before about limiting public comment. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I wouldn't want to do that.
as the mayor, I can moderate these things to some level, and I don't want to, as long as everybody's civil and we have the time, I do want to remain an open forum.
I do too. I just mean if we had, like, if we could have had this earlier, what the stuff that she handed out.
Yeah.
If there was some way we could have had that earlier to, it just catches.
Well, yeah,
It does catch us off guard.
And maybe
But
there's not, and I don't want to, y'all
Even
know
if
me,
it's
I
not
don't
part
want to
of
stop
the
public
official
comment.
agenda, just a little attachment that
Yeah.
we might have people
Well,
from
that's
the
okay.
EPA,
I mean,
we might have people from the country club.
Yeah,
talk
like
about
the
pool
EPA,
or-
we didn't even really
or-
know they
or
were, and y'all
whatever.
knew they were gonna be here. I mean,
well,
I
now,
can speculate out all day long, but that doesn't mean
Yeah,
we're
but
gonna
we
have
need-
someone.
well,
but we
now,
did know people-
now the EPA thing, I'll take some blame there, but I was very busy figuring out. I talked to them an hour actually just before they came in here. I mean, immediately.
and I know it
before.
can't be every time, but I
And-
mean, if we
and-
could just.
And I don't want to get too
If I
much.
know about it, I'll let you know.
I don't want to get too
If it
much
could be
into
on the
meetings.
agenda, that's what I'm saying. That's-
The fact that I think it was lost on the fact that there was to be a public information meeting the very next night, that what they were actually going to say other than hand out their deal. Okay. Which is basically what I limited them to. They wanted to do more. And I'm like, you want to have 2 public information meetings?
Yeah.
Okay. We see your point. So that's what that amounted
And
to.
I'm not
but-
casting blame anybody. I'm saying, but when you've got an agenda that it's gone back to old business, new business.
Right.
That doesn't tell us anything.
I'm flat-footed on this one. Okay, I'm flat-footed on this one. Now, as far as EPA being here last week, last
That's
month,
just an example. Y'all-
that was
Well, I didn't
something.
even mean that. You sent text out.
Well, I did try to give everybody the heads-up notice on that, but I don't
Hey, you
know.
even told us what page to read. I appreciated that. I
Yeah.
printed it.
Well,
read
I
it.
don't-
You said that because that's the last one.
Well, I
No.
don't. That was a page you needed to start to read because you had 200 more to cover.
I started
um,
there.
I fell asleep after
I
that.
appreciated it.
I did not read it.
Fell asleep
Didn't
after the second
For,
page.
for
Oh, I didn't read
instance,
200 pages.
when
I
they
read
came up
pages.
about
I read this, I
Preston
didn't know what they were
Cole
talking about.
Right.
thing, Deanna asked me about it, and I said, you need to go through John. And it's just on the agenda. That's all I'm saying, that it would
Okay.
help us to know what to be a little bit prepared for. Because I'll be honest with you, when I drive in and there's a whole bunch of cars here, I'm like, wonder what's going to happen tonight, because we don't have any
That's your
idea.
cue to turn around and go home. Oh, I got sick.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say about the pool, when I received this first page, I did receive this and I did not share this with everybody, but I did get it and I did call City Hall and I told them what they were advertising. And it does say on here that they're welcoming them to the meeting. So I did make City Hall aware of that.
First, is this the same first page you got?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
I think somebody said that
Was that an excerpt from an email or something?
well, it just came to me in a text message from Miss Tammy.
Madeline,
saying that they were putting this out maybe on Facebook, but I never saw it on Facebook, but I haven't been on Facebook.
I'm just
because
saying
I'm
this
working on
goes
budget
toward
right now.
transparency to know what we're going to have.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think what we need to do, I'm going to propose a solution here. We're going to encourage people who are petitioners, and we, all of us, the council, need to encourage them, and we'll try to get them on the agenda because it'll be better for them the more we know about it up front. And, there may be a need for someone to be secretive or something, and that's probably not in the best interest of coming up in a public forum and having open dialogue because it's, your first reaction is like, golly gee whiz, I didn't know what to expect on this. I had heard, I heard that the swim team was going to be here. I just heard that today. And so I had no idea about that. But, really, and please, I want to be clear on this. I am so impressed with the job that Madeline did on this thing and her depth of experience with Fish and Wildlife and her life as a pool manager in that setting. Oh my gosh, can you imagine what their swim tests are at Camp Curry every day? I mean, yeah, I can swim. You toss them in. Next thing you know, you're pulling them out of the pool, sputtering probably from the campers. You know, I can only imagine. So she's got a depth of experience that probably no one else in the community has. And she's risen to it ad hoc on her own. So I don't want to be at all critical about anything here. But yeah, so let's, whenever we can, let's try to get
It's
everybody
just
on
where
page.
we won't have a deer in the headlights
Understand.
type thing. And you know what? If it had been on the agenda and the agenda is printed, there may have been people in the community that wanted to hear about it that could have come up here.
That's true.
That's
true.
We
So
didn't
all
get
I ask is from the future, if you have somebody that has a contact like that, I don't care who it is. If you want them on the agenda, tell them to contact City Hall, them to contact City
That
Hall.
would be great.
That way we have their information. I can relay it to the mayor. The
So-
mayor will know and he'll say yes or no because he sets the agenda.
And it's not
We'll be
finding
glad to
any
do
kind
that.
of fault. It's
No,
not
no, no. I'm
meaning
just saying,
any-
that's the best way to do it is send them to us,
it is.
directly to us. That's the easiest way to do it. And that way we can actually get them on the agenda because the information, and I misunderstood you apparently, because I knew you said that they were talking about coming.
I was
but didn't
not
know
going to
when.
throw you under the bus.
No, no, no.
I was not going to do that.
What I'm saying is I knew that there was a possibility that they would come, but I didn't know anything about them going to be here until this morning. And I don't think you knew either
Well,
when they were coming.
whenever I got this, when I called up there, it was because it was inviting everyone to the meeting and it listed the meeting times.
Okay, I
And I felt
misunderstood that it
confident
was
that I
coming to
could
this meeting.
relate
That
that.
that was my misunderstanding. That was my fault.
But it,
Because I didn't realize it
I
was
think
coming
it would
this
just benefit all of us. And it's
Well,
not, like
so,
I said, it's just,
Point well taken. And I think we should do it. I think we should try to get people on the agenda. I think it'll be better for the public issue. It'll be better for the council to deal with it and better because usually when people come, it's usually something the public will support.
and that's not to say that something might happen Monday and they're up here Monday night. That's going to happen. I
Right.
know that it
Right.
is. You know,
Well, and another thing, I don't want to make it rigid. I mean, we do
Right,
have some
right.
governmental bodies that really set on that agenda and make it work.
Yeah, I don't
No,
want it that
I'm
way.
not going to do that. I don't think that's best interest for us. I'm not going to do that, but knowing up front, and it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I think it's a great message. And I think with the right PR campaign, and that's why we are a
I was
cross-functional. That's why we're a cross-functional group. You immediately go to PR fundraising and I could sit here and write you a list of donors.
well, and when you
that would contribute.
said that, I thought, I bet there's 100 people that would write there. I bet there's 100 people that would write a check for $1,000 just in
If we do it right.
swimmers in the last 50 years.
If we do it right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could be important. And, but the care and feeding of an Olympic, well, it's not an Olympic size pool, but of this pool is more than some of the pools you see out and around. You go to Lexington, some of the homeowner associations will have a 25-yard pool. And those were built a long time ago, usually because of all the regulating ourselves out.
But you're not going to go very many places in Western Kentucky with this one.
No, I noticed she didn't say Olympic pool. She said lap pool, and I wondered.
No, it's 25 yards. 50 yards will be when you go to swim meets and stuff. A lot of organizations have a 50-yard pool. Yeah, and this one's 25. So you got if you're older, you got to be able to do the turn for a 50-yard event. But it's fine. I mean, it's workable for what we have. I mean, face it, we're West Kentucky and we're not the wealthiest of communities. So, I mean, there's been studies done in the county of how much of, there was a study done and pretty well funded and well run study. And it was to try to say, okay, what would it be to build a competition style pool at a central location in Marshall? They went around and interviewed corporate entities and public entities and trying to figure out where the support for that was. And it didn't go through. Where would it be? What would be, what's the capital cost of such a thing? What is the operational cost of that? Because, especially if you're going to do an auditorium, indoor, outdoor, if you're really going to run a school competition, that this community and what we have, I would hope that we could support that if the community decided to.
Well, what makes us so special, I feel like, is Greg has great experience with this whenever we did the agreement with the school system over the electronics. So I feel like this is definitely something that
But
his
the school
brain
system
power
is public, and that's not. It's private.
Well, it is public, you're right. But the tricky part was, how was he able to prove that it was going towards the Calvert citizens? And if anyone's going to find that loophole, I feel confident it's going to be Great North
Well,
County.
you'd have to have a clear statement of public purpose, and it was handed to us as best people knew
I
how
mean, we're
just
still
now.
sitting here treading water on a generator, so.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I didn't
Well,
think about
the
that.
generator, good to eat in, bandwidth on my part is suffering. Okay. So, wanted to have an ad out this month. I do not.
not being smart. I
Well,
mean, I'm
no,
just
no,
saying that
I
that's
had
the
to-
way the government works.
Well,
It's-
You know,
We're waiting on the trail to get built for government works.
yeah.
I mean,
There's
that's
another
just- there's just
example.
no-
Okay.
there's no lie about it.
Let me drag out my agenda here and see if we can go through. So,
Yeah, we need to.
we got into new business, and there's no progress.
They still don't know the scope of their work either.
They don't.
No, they got to deliver. They got to. There's a lot of
They
work.
don't know.
If I could figure out, if I could figure out a way to
to
get them some.
To my knowledge of the stuff that's going on, they really have no idea of the scope of the project.
I don't think they-
They have no. They
And
have,
what's under that concrete is every pool owner's worst nightmare. I don't want to know what's under mine.
they don't know, and that's the thing about it is they don't really know. I'm going to say that the $200,000 is the minimum. Yeah. And
Well, they pitched it as 300,000, and then whenever I saw the quote, I was like, oh well,
Because-
hopefully they're wrong, but they're
because
right.
like Tammy
That's
said,
not the
Tammy
true
said
price.
about half the people in the survey just said fill the pool in.
Lovely.
And that's not a lie. I mean, that's some of the things that we have to think about. And some of them said if they put an assessment on there, it would drop out the country club.
So-
and those are facts, and those are things I want to make every person up
Yeah.
here aware of.
Well, I think that it's they presented their argument, and if it
And I
works
mean, they've
out,
done
great. And if it
Excellent
doesn't,
job.
I think that they definitely tried. But
I think they got to try.
we don't know the country club's financials either. Like I've never seen their books.
Well, and I think we can help, even if it's not as a governmental agency, we can help individually.
That's true.
Either donation wise or help fundraise or both. So,
I would love to get some resources to this effort to try to get some technical expertise on what it takes to build and rehab a pool, and get some resources on what a PR fundraiser effort might be. But that board, country club board, owns that asset. So they've got to get through what they want to do with that asset and figure out. So hopefully they'll listen to the same thing we listen to and go. But right now they are the ones that hold the asset. So they've got to figure it out. That part of it. Now, from what I'm hearing, we would be willing to talk to them should it be meaningful at all. And then we got our handcuffs on because it's got to be for the public purpose. And I would go so far as to say there should be some other stakeholders, whether they be alumni or people who just are fans of swimming or fond memories of Calvert City growing up, and the school board at the very least, who are stakeholders as well.
How does the school board currently support the swim team?
I have no idea.
Does anyone know?
I do not know the level of school board support. They don't.
As for the country club,
No, it's
just
just
the
their
swim team
swim
itself.
we do have a swim team.
Where's the high school swim team go?
For
Practice.
practice. I was told that they went to Murray, and I was told that they used this one in the summertime.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
She's correct.
Okay.
And I mean, we have a functioning swim team. I pay for their meets.
Okay.
But they're about like
I think the Orange Waves are larger than the high school, but we do have a
you're correct.
senior that's receiving scholarships. She has her choice of school right now.
And so, but they do. It is
Amazing.
part of.
Be interested to know her story.
It is
Their
part
story.
of their
He or
athletic.
her.
It is part of their
Okay.
athletic budget. I'm sure they're like the. I'm sure the swim team is like the golf team. They probably have about a $1,500 budget.
Well, that and parents,
Really?
the parents.
Yeah. And everything else is parent driven. Raised
That's the way
funds.
soccer is. I mean, the soccer boosters and stuff.
So they've got
Basketball
they've got
boosters.
boards. They've got
They wrote
organizations.
me a check for furniture. I'm selling furniture for golf.
Anybody want to buy fun?
So they've got
So, I mean,
they-
it's just a,
they've got boosts.
I've been
They've got
selling stuff for almost 20 years now. So
so they've got booster
And
clubs.
another-
They got booster clubs with bylaws
Yeah.
with officers.
Well, I just wondered
With
because I
proceedings.
know they were talking about a high school team, and I'm going, where are they? I didn't know where they were practicing. I didn't know how
Yeah.
that was
They
set up.
probably,
Well, and you run into the same thing if you're a soccer player. There's no indoor soccer here. If you want to play indoor soccer, you have to go somewhere else. I mean, sometimes it does necessitate that.
So you got parents who pay for privates.
Yeah.
I mean, the strength of these teams do come from the parental support, from booster support. And if hopefully every one of the members will find support from the organization that they're well run and well organized and can raise money. So they're obviously a big stakeholder. And I don't know who that would be, but anyway, we probably have given us as much thought as we can tonight. So I will talk to Tammy and see where her board is and see what she knows and try to open up a dialogue. If everybody's in agreement with that, and we'll see where that goes. Like I said, heavy lifting. Okay. Any other, that was new business. Anybody got any old business to talk about before we get to reports? Okay. New business. Well, I guess maybe this is old business. And I've got to be careful and measured about what I say here. I went to the public information meeting, as I know some of the council did, that the EPA had on the air quality risk assessment. I talked to an individual who covered it, and I asked the individual who's a journalist, so there didn't seem to be a lot of communication going on at that meeting. It's all one-sided. I'm putting something out there for you, and then we had people in the public putting something out there for them, and there really wasn't communication about the issues. It's not like I've got a big press release that I want to come out and say as mayor, other than just pretty dissatisfied on how that air quality assessment, that risk assessment was done, and the understanding of our community after the public meeting. You know, going to the public meeting, it occurred to me we had people in attendance that had their own agendas for whatever reason, and they wanted their agendas aired as part of the public record, which it becomes. Okay. So, you know, being handicapped with the birth defect of being an engineer and being in this industry for quite a number of years, I don't work for Westlake, and Calvert City does not run the air quality business. We don't set the regulations, and we don't have inspectors. So the best we can hope for is that people who have the right to know really avail themselves of the responsibilities to understand. And I will tell you that this has been pretty sloppy, is just about as sloppy as you can imagine. There's been coverage overall is negative. I've heard things said on TV that probably they got right half an hour before, and they didn't get right that time, and things that were said were just not necessarily true. I don't know how Calvert City gets through this situation yet again. Okay. I was provided a copy of an editorial from the Paxton Media Group. I don't know that's what they called themselves in 1991 about some of the onslaughts that we had back at that time. You know, it's a sensational news when you have this much chemical industry in your area. And I think sometimes, and some of the journalists have wondered why all of the citizens aren't up in arms. Why do Calvert Cityans don't seem to care about what's obviously a risk? Well, I mean, it was we were below right at or below what Region 4 EPA considers an action limit, except for one monitor, which is right across the street from the facility. And Westlake is already engaged with Kentucky Division of Air Quality, and I'm assuming Region 4 EPA, and they're working to where they're moving forward. And so where do we get as a community? How do we understand that we've worked so hard to provide amenities, make Calvert City a great place to live and a safe place to live? And people think, well, you're just so desensitized that you don't care about these issues. That's not true at all. We see ever improving health and safety and environmental performance from our corporate citizens. Does that mean they're perfect? No. Do they need to be held accountable by the regulators? Yes, they do. And I'll be the first to tell you that the regulators need to do their business. They are charged and need to do those things. But kind of the way that it's ended up, to my my thinking is, how do you get to a better understanding of what it said and what the long-term risk is? And right now, there's still a lot of misinformation going on out there. So I don't know where I proceed from here.
Well, I don't know either, because I think the people in Calvert City are logical people.
Mhm.
I think they can read reports and they can figure out what's going on and whether or not you're going to be in one place 24/7 for 70 years or not. You're not likely to be. And I think Lloyd put this out, you couldn't even lay out in the sun that long and have that much exposure, that I think we are logical. What bothers me is when the local TV station has an infomercial about it, because that's all that I saw the other day. And if I were to be really catty, I would probably say that one of those attorneys probably needs to be suing suntan bed people for exposure. Probably more dangerous to his skin than anything that's happened at the plants.
Right.
I
Well-
would like to say, let y'all know about one thing. I was promised before that hearing by their public information person that I would get to ask questions during the meeting. Neither I or Bobby Faust was able to ask a single question during that meeting. I raised my hand, I don't know how many times, and they took the microphone to people in the back or people to the side. They knew we were media. They did not.
And then they skipped over you again for the online questions.
For whatever reason, we didn't get to ask any questions.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
And your editorial was great.
They did reach out. EPA, Region 4, and KDAQ reached out to local officials, and I'll let council know as soon as I did, to keep the elected officials from being flat-footed on that press release. They really didn't give us a press release early. They just said, you know, things are going to be announced and be ready for that. And that's about what we had. But I do have some contacts, and I would like to get some more clarification on some of those issues. But, you know, at the press, we're not allowed to ask questions. Did anybody from the press ask any questions? Any press?
Not during the meeting that anyone that I knew.
Okay.
Now, there were people who asked, most of them didn't really ask questions as much as they used their time to make statements.
Right. And that's my comment, my observation. Yeah. So they had their own agenda. And then when they wanted to talk, didn't they?
Well, I guess we all do that.
Well,
but you know, no one let off. None of the media that I know of let off with her name escapes me. It's Taft, I believe it is.
yes.
Sarah.
Sarah Taft,
Dr. Sarah Taft.
Yes.
No one used her opening comments. It's usually a preface to what's going to be discussed in a meeting. And I'm not going to quote her exactly, but generally what she said was that the EPA was not concerned with the level for any immediate action for the level of EDC that was present in Calvert.
Right.
They were not worried about it. Another thing I learned after that meeting was that the monitor at Calvert City Elementary School was moved from one place to another. You know, and I don't know for sure if that happened during this test period. I don't know exactly when it was moved, but supposedly it was moved to get a better sample.
So that's one of the questions you would have.
Yes.
Okay.
Why did you move?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other question was, if you're going to take it for the state, if you're going to take the action here at this school, which they still have not done anything, they had telephone calls, but they haven't done anything. But the control or the sample that was supposed to be a clean sample at Grayson Lake had between 6 and 7 times above the limit, actionable limit that the state has set. Now, there's no EDC there, but there's all kinds of other volatile organic compounds, one of them being benzene. So, nobody looks at this and says, this stuff is everywhere. The volatile organic compounds, maybe it's not EDC, but in an industrialized society, the tests are showing that we have elevated levels of these compounds everywhere.
Right. Well, there's still some conversations to be had, and still I have some contacts and some maybe get some movement or some answers to some things. We'll see. I've got a contact at Region 4, and also have a contact at KDAQ, and they have pledged to answer questions, and I will try to see what else can happen, which is the purpose of me even mentioning that tonight. So if any of you guys have, like Lloyd pointed out, if you have any questions you want me to try to get an answer for out of these contacts, I will be more than happy to try to do that. But I will tell you that Calvert City has been represented in a negative light. There has been a fair amount of misinformation put out, and I'm not sure that there's been enough understanding for a lot of people's parts to really understand this. I'm not even refuting. I'm not in the business of refuting their mandate to regulate and to make public health a priority. That's not even at all the conversation. The conversation is, about how it's handled and what was who were the participants, and apparently some people who are less concerned with the community health as maybe some other items on their agendas. So anyway, probably I felt compelled to say something. And so if anybody has something they would like to pursue with a clarification from Region 4 or KDAQ, I'd be more than happy to do or try to do that. That's all I have on that business. We do have an appointment of Nathan Brandon. I would like to recommend an appointment for the council's consideration for confirmation.
Make a motion that we appoint Nathan Brandon to the airport board.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Speaking of boards, I took a phone call just a minute ago and was made aware of a need. Some of you guys might know and have heard about this. There is a 501c3, Marsh County Senior Citizens. I don't know if I got the right exact proper name. There are officers and there's board members, and they've been meeting, helping the fiscal court mainly in Benton and us to some degree, but the location they're looking at refurbing or doing is in Benton, which makes it a little less mandating for Calvert. But if somebody knows somebody from Calvert who's interested in serving on that board or getting active with that organization, please get with me. That board is a self-sustaining board. I don't know their bylaws. I don't know if they're appointed by the county judge or not. But if somebody wants to be active to represent senior citizen activities in Calvert, it doesn't have to be a senior. It has to be, somebody who wants to see progress on that.
I think you ought to get in touch with the streetwalkers.
Could
One
be.
of them, seriously. Linda might. You think, Ralph? Would Linda?
Oh, wow.
Seriously, that'd be
But
great.
let's think about that and
That'd
put
be
it out
energy.
here in the form of the city council meeting that 501c3, they're seeing some activity and some funds moving in, and they had a very good meeting at the courthouse. How long ago has that been, Lloyd? It's been what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
I think they had an open house in January.
Yeah, they had an open house, and before that, they had the meeting at the courthouse.
In October.
Yeah, okay, and
At the Benton Community Center.
yeah, that's right. So they had the initial meeting to try to rejuvenate that effort, and there have been some movements. There have been some visits of facilities and ideas of what the programming is. I think it's very important. It's something that COVID killed and the board is active. I think they saved the 501c3. I think it was actually near becoming out of compliance, and they saved it from that. But need some really want some rejuvenation there. So there's an ad. That's a free ad for them. We won't charge them
Our
anything.
problem is none of us that are seniors want to admit it.
Well, like I said, we had some people at that meeting, that initial meeting, to kind of establish where we were after COVID killed it.
There, she's 40. She's knocking on that door too now.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Hard crowd. Hard crowd.
And I love to plan a party, so I'll plan anything when someone throws at me.
All right. So that's one of those. With that, we'll go to other business. Blair, you usually are pretty early on a meeting, so we'll bring you up. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not the normal. Kevin's chomping at the bit here.
Yeah. I'll be quick. I don't have much. Coffee and Chocolate Festival was great. We had about 5,000 come through. It was Saturday was crazy. I think I made 26 gallons of hot chocolate. Lots of hot chocolate. But if anybody needs a batch order or recipe, I got it. I got you. For the pickleball tournament, we already have 97 registered, and there's another pickleball tournament in the area, and they only have 2. So,
How many do we already have registered?
97. And that's per person. That's not per team.
We got lots of pickles.
We got lots of pickles.
Well, the Calvert City pickle leadership's pretty dynamic.
Yes.
They are
97
excited.
Players.
Yes. What's that?
97 players.
Yeah. Kites Over Calvert is on May 4th. There's some new food trucks floating around. So May 3rd will be the first Food Truck Friday. If you know of a new food truck, make sure you get them up here to City Hall so they can get the proper paperwork completed before we get them set up in the park. June 8th is the Kids Art in the Park, and looking for musicians and kids that are young entrepreneurs that want to participate with that. I had an original contact for the hot air balloon contest or hot air balloon show. He never would call me back after 100 times. So I found another one and I called him, and it seems promising. I do not know where it's going to go, but I'm not going to get anybody's hopes up. But I haven't forgot about it. Still working on it. And I don't think, okay, Jimmy's here, but don't burn.
Don't burn.
That was my request. That was it. That's all I got.
So forestry is, we'll get to you in a
Oh,
minute.
no, it's not.
Oh,
No,
there's a
sorry.
burn ban on. That's what I thought you said about.
It's an annual burn ban.
Oh, yeah, another one. We have a youth voice writing contest winner. It'll be in the late news this week, and it is Anastasia Lazowska, and it is a piece about her experience going from Ukraine on the day that she had to leave
Wow.
to move here. It is a great story, so definitely check it out. It'll be in the news.
It's already in there.
Well,
The
second one?
but she won the award, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's it. It's
well We-
worth the read.
She is just amazing. She's not just a student at the high school. She's probably in the top 5 of her junior class.
Wow.
And
Sounds really good.
in all honors programs, she speaks better English than I do.
She's learning
Which
Japanese.
is not saying a whole lot for me, but she probably speaks about 5 languages. And when she talks, she's been to the pyramids. These kids fail to talk. She's been places where most of us will never ever be in our life. And and an unbelievable artist. She can draw you perfectly. I mean, she can make a portrait of you. You're using nothing but a pencil, and you will. And I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well,
I can't believe it.
And landscape. She thinks about her favorite place in Ukraine, and she drew it, and it matches. She shows me the drawing, and then she shows me a picture online, and says, well, this isn't what I thought of when I drew it, but doesn't it look like it? It's amazing. It is amazing.
Sounds like a marvelous person. Projects report. The less exciting things. No, more
Less
exciting things.
yes.
Depends on which your projects are. So
Currently, Brad and the guys are working on West 10th, trying to get the right of ways cleared. We're going to setting in new drainage and culverts. We're also waiting for the asphalt plants to reopen so we can complete the paving that we started in the fall. The soccer fields, we have moved the U12 out, and this was in conjunction with working with Marshall County Soccer Association.
okay, hang on a minute. Jeremy's going to have to leave the meeting. Okay, so we've got a change and we still have a quorum. We still have a quorum present, but just want to make note that Jeremy has
Yeah.
to
Sorry,
sign
guys.
off for.
Sorry, guys. And I don't have any issues to report. I apologize.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
Good night. Sorry, I'm not leaving with you.
Make a motion.
U12 field that was over here in Memorial Park has now been moved to Doctor's Park.
Well, why'd you do that?
And well, because we've added another U12, so we now have two U12s and a U14. And over here in Memorial Park, U8s have been moved back behind field 3.
So that's us working
2.
with Marshall County Soccer, right? Okay.
So yeah, we've been working with them, and we're able to actually add fields and relocate. So they're working on the fountain. They've got to do some plumbing, and they'll be doing caulking later on. For that, we've actually ordered shades for the splash pad. We're going to get 4 of them. They'll go on the 4 outer corners.
This is your artistic.
No, yeah, but that's just showing the location. Well, actually, the locations are not quite correct. They will actually go right behind the benches. They're 14 by 14, 8 feet tall. These are heavy duty. They mount in the ground, and they are a hip roof style. Okay. Very sturdy. They can handle the snow loads, the whole 9 yards. So we won't have to take them down or anything, leave them up year round.
Awesome.
So,
The children of Calvert, thank you.
mowing bids are in for our
Grandparents will
contract
too.
mowing. Actually, we had 3 people come and pick up contract information. We only had 1 bid come in. It was the same group that we've been utilizing, Fairway Lawn.
For which project was that?
That's all the mowing.
Oh, the mowing. Okay.
Contract mowing from the airport, 62, interchange, cemetery. And Fairway's done a good job for us. So the others wanted to just bush hog. They didn't want to do finish mowing. And so that was, I think, the reason they backed out and didn't submit. Right now we're advertising for bids on the new restroom at Darkness Park. We're running that 2 weeks, running it this week, and in next week's edition in this paper, in the Lake News, and also in the Trib. Try to get contractors' attention. TAP fund still sitting on a stack somewhere at the state. I tried to call and can't get through to the individual, and I contacted BFW, and they haven't heard anything either. So I'm gonna start being a squeaky wheel. I'm tired of it. I guess we'll see if that helps anything. The engine brake prohibited signs have been ordered. They're being ordered through the state. They will set them up. We've set the locations. We've got 6 of them coming. Most of them are going to be in the areas that will be more likely to be enforced, and that's in the around the residential areas. So we're going to have 4 of them on or around 62, and then 2 of them coming south from the plant area. The airport, our taxiway lights were out because of the regulator. We've got that, finally got that in. We were supposedly going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, and it, boom, miraculously appeared. So it's back operational. We also, just FYI, our jet fuel sales have actually taken off. We've lowered the price.
No pun intended.
Yeah, but we've actually sold more jet fuel than we have avgas now. We sold 1,200, as of today, 1,215 gallons since the first of the year, and a little less than 500 gallons of avgas. So it's starting to move now. I'm sorry. The only other thing that I have is a budget schedule. Do you want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
appropriate. So everybody we'll send out an email, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about it.
But what I would like for you to look at tentatively is Thursday, May the 16th or May the 23rd for a budget workshop. I need to know if you guys are available on those dates.
Well, let's do it again, the 16th.
May the 16th or May or May the 23rd for budget workshop. That still gives us a few weeks between then and the June meeting to actually, if we have to make any tweaking, okay? We are right now in the process of getting together finance or the expenditures and department expenses for the coming year. And then after this month closes, that's 9 months, and we can estimate our revenues and what we expect for next year as well. So everything is tracking fairly well right now as far as revenues go. And expenditures are not doing bad. We're snug on a few, but most of them are doing okay in revenue and expenditures as well. But we're trying to get this together, get our drafts set up so that by the time we'll be ready to go at one of those two dates, whichever one works best for you guys. So, and we'll provide dinner.
I got one question, and this may not be where for the city, but since Wayne maintains that medium there at Oak Park and 62,
Mhm.
those, I don't know what you call them, the concrete thing, when you turn in, they're little triangular shaped things that are, I guess that's the
Curbing.
median as well, but, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
The reflective paint is off of those, and when you're coming down 62 and making the left turn to turn into Oak Park at night, it is really, really hard to see
Okay.
that.
State.
And I didn't know if state did that, but maybe.
Can you
we could
know who
say-
to call, don't
It's
you?
a state right away. We'll talk to them about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Same thing we had to paint the arrows up on McDonald's, place like that.
If it's the arrows coming out of the side road, that's us.
No, it was the state whenever I brought it up.
They've done it since then.
Oh, okay, okay.
We've done it.
All right.
What was that,
All right.
Blair?
Maybe, are you thinking about the actual stoplight?
It needed to be repainted again.
All right. I thought you were talking about coming out of Kennedy.
That's a
Avenue.
stoplight? The line?
Yes. If it's not painted, the line goes all the way to Cracker Barrel. And sometimes I've just pulled up and, because you have to be in that turn lane for the light to change. It will be green, for 62 forever, eternally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if you will, and if you have anything that we need to talk about on budget, please give me a call so we can sit down and go over that. The Parks Board has got their wish list together, so we've got that together. And so we'll be talking with cemetery and airport and all the others, getting those together as well. So if you guys have anything that you want to address with us, we'll be glad to sit down with you and work it out. That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Since we're on projects, we're gonna go pretty quick. Tim, you want to come up for a minute? We're gonna do water first. He says, "Oh, brother." So Calvert City Water, guys and gals, we operate a utility here, and it's a small utility by the way they're measured, and we've got industrial clients that really enable us to keep running our utility. And we've done a rate study. The utility board had a rate study done by Rural Water, and looking at our cost to manufacture 1,000 gallons and what we actually generate and some different things for that advisory board to think about. So they're going to be involved in this budgetary process too. Okay. But we've been the recipient of some pretty large grant funds that we kind of want to give you an update on. PB Cloud, one of them, has been completed. Do we need to go through what that project is for everybody? That was to tie a water line from 62 down PB Cloud. This is outside the city, but it's part of our utility client base. So that project is
100% installed.
Okay. So that was done on a Cleaner Water Program grant. That was a $1.1 million grant at $880,000 of construction available. And we still have $550,000 available to us in construction.
That's correct.
And so we're adding on to the project and we're doing what?
The Long Valley Road South project, which is gonna complete the loop around Long Valley Road, up in the top of Grand Oaks, all the way back around to tie back in down by Dairy Queen, which is gonna give, it's in the county, but it will give it'll give those people fire protection that they do not have. And there's a lot of them up there that's having problems with their wells. And then there's a lot of places up there that just haven't developed because there's no water available. And the money was in the grant. We could move that money up there to serve those people. It is in our water district. And we just felt like that was the place to put the money.
So
There's gonna be some money left.
that helps manage the pressure up there.
Right.
And so there have been house fires up there that have been a struggle. Back when I was still in the department, we put one out, I think, twice before it got away from us.
Right.
And if we'd had better water, we would have saved that house. And so that's actually another fire protection district. Calvert City doesn't serve that area except by mutual aid. And so that will allow the ability to put some more hydrants out there because you got the water. You can't put a hydrant out where you can't supply the water for it because that creates its own set of problems. So hopefully we'll get some requests and we can figure out how to get that done in another fire protection district. The water utilities got obligation and the fire department wants to see that happen. So then, we'll see where we wound up. Engineering is about ready to,
It's in the completion phase. In fact, Chad is getting the drawings together on it to submit to the state for the state's approval. And as soon as we get the state's approval, the project will go out for bids.
So since we're not a utility board here, when you do water infrastructure with grant money, the state provides grant money and they also have a different level of review on making sure that water infrastructure is good for the people. Because, Calvert Water comes and Calvert Water goes, utility districts merge. They want to make sure everything's up to snuff and it's not just something that puts public health at danger, that's reliable and maintained. So that's all underway. And so we'll see. There's $550,000 left in those funds. See where we go. We got another grant for the water plant, the HMI. It's the human machine interface grant. So redoing the control system completely, upgrading controls, right?
We're upgrading the complete control system of the water plant. It's in the works right now. It was let out for bids. The bid was awarded on that part of it to Rick's Electric. And part of the equipment is in, part of it's still ordered. There's a lot of programming to be done that'll have to be done prior to installation. We're hoping that it's a plug and unplug and plug.
So this is when you walk in the water plant, you see the computers up and they're controlling the process. It's new computers, some new modules on some of the pump stations and things like that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're doing good on budget on that one too, and we'll see what else. So in 2024, water tower is going to be painted. That's something for our budget talk. So water tower is going to be repainted white. No, not white. It's going to be repainted white. And so we want logo or we want something for Calvert up there. That's something for our budget activity, whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, I love that.
Do what?
70 jets.
70 jets.
He's up there for 30 years.
So Tommy would be willing to repaint 70 jets on it. Okay. We'll see. Maybe he'll get the, maybe he'll get the,
I painted sharps. It was 67.
Oh, wow.
so another project for the water is a dock wall. John's kind of heading this one up. John, you want to talk about a dock wall?
Yeah, we're trying to harden that critical infrastructure so that we can actually put in a permanent structure to protect from flooding. Over the past
Where are you?
at the water plant.
Water plant, okay.
The last two floods we've had to actually move. Actually, they've had to move, and we've actually moved more gravel from Vulcan than they've ever moved on any single day to that water plant on two different occasions, so that we could build a dike or a levee around it to protect it, so we didn't lose our water supply. Well, this is a permanent structure, an earthen embankment with a concrete key to close it up, and that's the whole thing on that. So it would protect the water plant in the future. All we had to do instead of moving all this stuff and then tearing it back down again afterward is just set the key in there and
Have you got
keep our pumps.
You got a budgetary number on it? Yeah.
It's
preliminary.
$100,000.
Plus or minus 30%.
Well, not that much.
Okay.
100,000. And that was it was what 102, I think it was the actual number, and that was with 40% contingency fee.
And I mean, regardless, in the future, as far as on the water plant, if the water plant stays at the location it's at now, or if the water plant moves to a different location, the levee is still a must, because part of it's still gonna stay. So we still have to protect what we have there now.
So you got volume down there, you got the distribution systems down there, you got the duty pumps are down there. So if you did relocate the plant that purified it, still going to use the whole location for those other activities.
Right.
The road is a city road, and it goes underwater during flooding events. Mm-hmm. So they've hardened up the substation across the street. Part of our HMI is actually moving the controls to a higher elevation, helping harden it on what's controlling and this other project. So good things going on. There's some things that I can just kind of give you a real quick briefing on. Is we have the potential with our industrial client base. If we were a little small village known as Calvert City without our industrial clients, we probably would have we'd have a very much harder time staying in business. Okay. And so economic development wise, there's some potential clients that have been identified to even increase that industrial sales even higher, which is going to make it better for the town to stay in business. And one of the things that really struck a chord with me 3 months ago, we had the guy from Kentucky Rural Water. His name's Bob Miller, came down and helped us with a financial evaluation. He said some things in the preamble is that if you don't have utility, you have a problem remaining in the community. You got to have that infrastructure. For us in city limits, we keep a pretty hard line because we put tax revenue in the infrastructure for water. We all know we do. And it's that has to do with the credit line that we run for them. And we run enterprise-based economics in that prize, even though it's all city of city and how do you loan money yourself, but we're running enterprise level numbers on that so we understand what's going on. Okay. So we're going to continue to do that. But we do have some potential to maybe increase our water sales as much as 30% that have been identified. We've got some, we really can't talk about it from an economic development standpoint quite yet, but we've got some engineering dollars that have developed some projects we'll have to do. So hopefully we'll have some more information on that sooner rather than later. Okay. Tim, we got anything to add? Dan?
You got the lanes coming in to check out the well field
26.
pumps and everything for us, which will help us identify what we need to do in the budget for next year too.
That's normal care and feeding of the well field.
Right.
Until our well field, we got good wellhead protection efforts. We continue on that, and we want to stay in the water and sewer business and make sure we keep it moving.
We'll save the power increase also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Get ready. TVA has announced to West Kentucky. I got to make sure I got the right system because our other system buys from Big Rivers, but they're getting more into the sustainability of the power source. TVA is changing how they're doing the power grid, trying to change our technology into where you're using more power during off hours. So sliding rates on usage, and they're rearranging their rates. So we can save money if you operate at nights and weekends. when it's less demand, but nights and weekends are more demand in the winter, but they're less demand, so there's a change coming and we're going to be monitoring it and see what that means to us. But when you're running a bunch of 100 horsepower wells and moving a bunch of mass of water around and what are we size wise? 20 million gallon a day plant.
Right.
And you got to pump
It's going to be an increase. And I mean, the way the letter that we got, the way it explained it was TVA is putting this charge on West Kentucky. Okay, West Kentucky has their only course of action is to pass it on to us as a consumer.
So as a consumer, if you can install technology, so you're using your energy in off hours, you can get a favorable rate. And so West Kentucky's trying to reorder their rate structure to facilitate that, right? Okay, so this is going to roll downhill, and the utility system, big power consumer, so we're going to be monitoring it closely. Glenda's all over. She says yes. Okay, all right, enough. Anything else? All right, we got to move along before somebody makes that motion. Getting real close. Tim, airport. Don't forget Tim. Airport. Come on, Tim. What you got? Airport. Give me something. We signed something good the other day. I believe I approved a document. Oh, I caught him off
I
guard.
forgot what it was.
Oh.
Grant application.
It was a grant application.
For which one?
Defense.
Defense. Well, I will tell you, we still have, the good news is, here it is, March 11th. We're still in that slow period where the state nor the FAA has any pressure to move grants forward because we're still in the design phase for those grants. The good news remains that we're moving forward on the three projects. Remember the Pappy Reel, the hangar, and the airport layout plan. I can tell you that we're still moving forward because we haven't had our progress report meeting, and that will be tomorrow. So my story will probably change, but for now, it's all good news. That's all I have, except I have a trivia item.
Trivia item. It's late in the evening for a trivia item.
92 years ago tomorrow, the first Pappy Reel installation was made at the world's busiest airport. It was a new technology at the time. It's essentially a Pappy Reel system, precision approach path indicator, and runway end identification lights.
92 years ago.
92 years ago tomorrow, I came across the headline looking at one of my history books. And it was at the world's busiest airport, which at the time was Newark, New Jersey, where in the year 32, they had 20,000 passengers in the entire year, and they had 56,000 flight operations.
56,000?
56,000 flight operations.
Okay, all right.
To serve 20,000 passengers. Compared that to where we are 92 years later, the world's busiest airport, Atlanta, had 725,510 operations. That's 2,000 operations a day, serving 105 million people. We've come a long ways in 92 years.
That's interesting.
And the final trivia of the day I always appreciate how quickly our technology, meaning aviation, has changed. My flight instructor, who allowed me to earn my pilot certificate 54 years ago, her pilot's license.
It wasn't pedal powered.
Her pilot's license was signed by Orville Wright.
Is that what?
That's true.
What?
My flight instructor's pilot's license was signed by Orville Wright.
So what you said is appropriate.
Yes. Yes, we're both old. My flight instructor at the time was 67 years old.
Wow, that's crazy.
And she was a member of the Women's Air Corps and flew she didn't fly combat, but she flew 8 different military aircraft during World War II
I've read about those
From-
ladies.
from Wisconsin at the assembly plant over to Europe
I've heard about them.
and had many thousands of hours in B-17s and P-51s. And
What was that singer's name that took his license or pilot's license or pilot's training or something like that? Was in some kind of a band or something like that and they played. Who was that?
Man, this is out of
Remember
control.
that guy's name?
no,
Yeah, you were telling me about it.
I probably
We'll think
was, but
I think he
I've
sang for
slept since then.
Aerosmith.
Oh,
That story.
oh,
Never mind.
nah.
We'll tell that after we get a dismissal.
Anyways, don't want to waste any more of your time. So that ends my report.
All right, thank you.
And I make a motion
He's
for
got some good
adjournment.
war
No,
stories.
we're not. You cannot. Out of order. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah, Sergeant Babcock, you got anything from the police department? Oh, you can stand back there or wherever you're most comfortable, sir.
As far as activity, February, pretty calm, nothing major.
One rainy night crash.
Huh?
One rainy night crash over Stokesky.
Yeah. Newest business, we had our KCP, Kentucky Association of Chief of Police audit. That was February 27th. I just got an email today saying that we passed that.
Woohoo.
We made the accreditation. Future upcoming events, KLC is doing their risk and safety audit for us, and that will be the week of April 15th. I don't remember what day, but it's that week. And the last issue coming up is tomorrow. Hopefully we have a new police officer, as we did the last 2 weeks of background check, H1 forms, things like that. And so hopefully we can replace that vacancy.
Very, very good. I'm checking my schedule to make sure I've got that meeting tomorrow. Good
I was
deal.
told you did.
I do.
But
I do.
I have
All right. Chief Davis, you got anything?
Yeah, we avoided a big catastrophe the other night. If you can say luckily, American Environmental had a fire. Luckily, they were shut down for construction. No chemicals whatsoever involved in it, thankfully. I'd also like to put a public thank you out to the Possum Truck. As y'all know, we have no water down there where the structure was, it was on fire.
So how far off the main road is it back in there?
Well, the building is,
right in front of the landfill.
It's 1,500 foot anyway.
yes, if you know where the scale house is going up to the landfill,
Mhm.
that's where we're at the scale house.
Okay.
Luckily, they brought, 3 trucks. So we didn't even have to hook to a hydrant. We had enough water on the trucks to knock it down. That's the only major fire we've had. We've had some mutual aid with other departments.
Right.
Medical calls, we're kind of slowed down on them a little bit, thank goodness. But again, I keep stressing every time, we're getting into warmer weather. Just please check on your neighbors. We are an older community, including myself. Just check on them, make sure that they're seen and okay.
How you doing on volunteers? You picked up some?
Well, actually, we picked up some. We've had a couple of people that left the department, have come back. We're giving them a second chance. So hopefully that. We've got one application for a new firefighter. It's Fred's grandson. He's going to start learning training and stuff. He's not going to be able to do a whole lot yet, but he will get the training and stuff. So when he does,
Very good.
is able to do something, he'll know what's going on.
Well, like all the departments, the mutual aids are very important these days.
We've got to have it.
Got to have them. It's the way of life.
I mean, there's not a department in this county
Yeah.
that can handle
a major fire by themselves.
So firefighting gets to look a lot like work real quick, but it is worth the effort for volunteers that want to go and learn something new and be involved. Can't recommend it more highly. Anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
All right. Brad's back here hiding. You ain't got anything, do you? No?
I think he covered it.
Okay. All right. I think it's that time. Oh, yeah, we do. I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you for keeping me on. Anybody else got anything?
I know what I've got to say.
Okay, Kevin, you got anything else to say besides that?
No, besides that.
Nita? Ralph?
No.
Okay.
I received an email. I assume everyone else received it as well, but I don't know. From JD Cheney from KLC.
Yes.
Okay,
House Bill 687.
correct.
Yes.
Yep.
You need to speak to your representative, Chris Freeland, and oppose that.
What's the number again?
House Bill 687.
687 and
And what it is it's actually legislation to impose fees on the cities for housing people they arrest in the county jail.
Whether it's a Calvert officer that would arrest him or not. And this email also points out that businesses and residents of Calvert pay taxes to the county and that this would be them paying double.
This would be a double taxation on them, yeah.
Yep.
So
That
if you
doesn't seem to
will,
bother our legislators.
We're sort of used to that.
contact, check your emails.
So
You
please
should receive something. If not, I will forward that to you.
when and
Or I can
Tanera,
give you a copy before I go.
thanks for reminding us on that, Tanera. I got one, but when the KLC puts out some stuff, call to action, but very seldom is it like that from JD. So it's a very important item right now. It's evidently gaining some traction, and so KLC doesn't call us to action at that method very often.
And
So
Chris
thank
is
you.
on that committee that's going to be hearing that. So
Yes, that's it.
he's not a co-sponsor on that bill.
It was I didn't know anybody else had gotten that, but I have that down to make a phone call. So
Just please call.
all right. With that said, and thanks for getting me back on track to asking everybody. Jeremy is gone, so he didn't get to say anything. Kevin, what time is it? Got a motion to adjourn? We have a second? No? All in favor? Let's get going.
Tanera, I'd like to also add about that double taxation.